So why Italy? This week, I hope to be able to share a little bit about my calling to Italy and hopefully give you a little more insight into who I am as an individual. Kind of starting with my childhood, I've been blessed to grow up in a military family in which we spent 8+ years in Europe. 3.5 of those years were spent in Italy. And so there's always been a desire to return to a place I grew up just because I had a love for the people. And I mean, it's Italy, the food is amazing. And so kind of taking away the setting of just Italy in itself. Growing up, I never saw sports as being a platform for sharing the gospel. I mean, I can recall after getting saved in the eighth grade that the Lord allowed me to share my faith with my teammates in high school and kind of seeing, the locker room maybe being a place of prayer and having open discussion about God, but not really nothing outside of, just the locker room. Sports could be really utilized to just open, openly proclaiming your faith that we see today with athletes like Tim Tebow and Carson Wentz. And so it's been amazing to kind of see that transition and that progression. But for me, things really took off when I got to college. I attended Liberty University, which is also the world's largest Christian university, if you didn't know. And every week, it seemed like they were always preaching missions, missions, missions. Make sure you go on a missions trip. Sign up for this missions trip. And so for someone like me, I never saw myself doing a missions trip, let alone seeing myself be a missionary. And one thing I've learned from that experience or from these statements is never say never when it comes to God. God has a great sense of humor, and ironic enough, He took those statements and now it's applicable to my life. As far as how I got kind of connected with Push to Rock, things started kind of my junior year when I spoke with some friends of mine who just got back from a Push to Rock trip the previous summer, and they raved about how they were able to run camps for youth, play exhibition games against pro clubs, but most importantly, they were able to share their faith, and that these avenues were just a great opportunity to just openly proclaim the life changing message of Jesus Christ. And so for me, this became kind of the next step in my personal walk, kind of getting into a place of familiarity, but yet at the same time being uncomfortable because this is just it's different culture. Italy is pretty dark and closed off to the gospel, and so sports just offers a new avenue for just being able to share your faith. And so I went on my first mission trip in 2012, and I fell in love with the country all over again. It was one of those things like for me, being able to grow up there, I kind of realized that Italy has always been a second home to me. And that was just evident in some of the relationships I was able to build. I can recall numerous stories, but one that really changed my perspective on ministry, sports ministry abroad per se, or even being a missionary. Relate to this girl named Emma. Me and her got to spend a lot of time together during the week of camp. I did a lot of coaching of the youth, and she was obviously on my team. And at the end of the camp, during one of the ceremonies, she wrote a letter just thanking the coaches for her experience and how excited she was to come back next year, and that this was just one of the best weeks of her entire life. And just those interactions was like something, for me, it really hit home in terms of, man, I can really see myself investing annually with amongst these youth and their families on a short-term basis. And so year after year, I kept coming back until finally an opportunity presented itself for me to be able to come for an entire year. And so just reflecting on those experiences, I can tell you that in just 2 weeks, we've been able to make a great impact. Not only because we're going over there using sports as a gospel, for the gospel, but we're becoming an extension of the local churches in these different communities, just creating new ways for them to connect so that these individuals are being discipled, these individuals are being poured into. But then at the same time, for me personally, being able to go for a year, imagine the greater the impact can be. Not only do we get more continued follow up with a lot of these families and these individuals, but at the same time, the expansion into other new territories and other churches who are looking to set up deeper roots in these communities. And so, one thing I would like to challenge each one of you guys who are watching this video is first to prayerfully consider partnering with this ministry. The cost for this one is not a small one. There's a lot of costs associated with me trying to get over there. And so you can definitely make a donation, whether it's one time or on a monthly basis. The second and most important thing I also need is just prayer partners, prayer warriors, people to come alongside me. There's a lot of spiritual warfare in the country. There's a lot of individuals who would not like to see this ministry succeed in certain parts of the country. And so just being able to not only pray, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, not for myself, but also for the missionaries there, also for the youth, the families that we've been able to connect with and will connect with, and just know that, man, the fruit that will be produced at the end of our journey on earth, just from this little investment, is it's amazing to think about. And so I thank you guys for tuning in this week to let me share a little bit about why I feel like I'm called to Italy. And next week, I'm excited to share a rock pile story of one of my experience. Thank you.